What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of TPC Army Podcast. We are here with two people that I just met, literally one just right now. We talked over email. And usually with products and things of this nature, I get it. I trial it out for a month or two or three before I actually talk about it publicly or have anyone on the podcast. But you guys fell into that special category where it was actually our mutual friend Brandon, where it's same kind of thing with his product. I understood the background science application of it, and I knew him as an individual. You could just feel about certain people, and I bought his device before I even actually utilized it first time, and then I had a life-changing experience with that device, and almost similar to you guys, but I got to try the app in the car and earbuds, and the difference was profound. We're looking at sound therapy, and there's nothing out there on the market like that. And so I'm beyond excited to have you guys on here, especially Chris, because this is going to be your last podcast, you said, so I feel honored to actually have you on here. Quick little background for everyone. Josh, Chris, both, where did you guys come from, how the company gets started, and then I really want to dig into a lot of the physics and everything that's going on.
Yeah, well, hey, thanks for having us, Alex. I really appreciate you. Yeah, it's something different in our lives because we actually created this product strictly for music. Chris is one of the top sound engineers out there who's developed some amazing headphones and is renowned in his field of sound. So we got together during the pandemic, and he had an old chair from the 70s from a movie called Logan's Run, and I was kind of coming in to take his studio over with him, and we were going to work together, and we decided to build the #1 audio chair in the world, strictly because we were going to be there in the studio during COVID, not really doing anything. And so that's what we did. We set out to do that, and as we started to build it, I started to have celebrity friends and all my people come to the studio because nobody was able to go anywhere. And that's when people showed interest in the chair that Chris was building. We were just literally building ourselves the chair. We only had 2 of them at that time. So people started to sit in the chairs and everything and really wanted a chair. So Chris and I looked at each other and we were like, hey, why don't we see if we can source everything was stuck in the water because of COVID for a couple months. So we had to source things to be able to start making some chairs. And we found out that we could do that. We found out after looking around for a few days, a week or so, that we could get most products from the States. We were going to have a little bit of a problem with power cables and power supplies, but that was okay. But yeah, so we started a pre-sale. I hired a couple people to kind of come in and help us with sourcing and things like that. And my good friend Robbie has Parkinson's disease. And would come into work sometimes in a clinch episode where he would be stuck at his chest or his belly button and he couldn't release his hands. And this is kind of what changed our whole life because, again, we made this for ourselves to listen to music and movies. And then Chris, wonderful Chris, was concerned that Robbie was showing up to work like this. And said, hey, is there anything going on with Parkinson's, man? What's up? I know you see some of the top doctors in the world. What's happening? Is there hope? And Robbie was like, man, I can't even go down that rabbit hole. I can't look it up. I can't, my kids are starting to look at me. He's like, I'm just so blessed that you guys are hiring me. And Chris was like, hey, well, that's what I do. I research all day. I'm a scientist. I would love to look things up and report back to you and see what I can, So jump forward, Chris does his research and is looking at white papers and all kinds of stuff and realizes that there was a machine at UCLA that would shake your basal ganglia that would give you relief from these episodes. Well, Chris, being the sound engineer he was like, wait, I could just do that with sound and put you in my 4,000 watt subwoofer. So that's what he did. He coded oscillators to create the standing wave, 2 standing waves that make a collapsing waveform that actually affected my friend's whole clinch episode. And in 5 minutes, he released his hands to his side. And that was kind of a breakthrough moment for myself because, again, I made this for my own entertainment and music. I didn't make this to affect the human body. What that did to Chris, and I'll let him speak more on this, is that gave us an outside view on, okay, who is in the industry talking about vibroacoustics, what products do they have? How are they delivering it? How is it being recorded? You know, all these things. And we realized that there were no real, well, maybe I shouldn't say no sound engineers, but there was no one paying attention to the sound. And there was some great modalities out there. And I'm not going to mention any of the modalities' names, but they would put you on a vibrational transducer, call it vibroacoustics, because they're handing you a $30, which probably costs $10 headphone, and playing it on a streaming device or a platform such as Spotify or Apple Music or something like that. So, yeah, that kind of changed our life, and I'll let Chris speak on the science of it. But it was a unique thing to discover that nobody in the space was really paying attention to it, and that we took the time to do so, and now it's been life changing. So,
Take it away, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. So, if you want to know, just, rewind a minute to what exactly happened with the Parkinson's experiment, why that was significant, and what that led to, and how we did that. It wasn't like a poking around kind of accident. 20 years ago, I was fortunate enough to work on a project with Dr. Pohos, who is like the father of cardiac MRI, he was the first one to image the heart with an MRI machine. And he turned me on to some things. Like, I would go to his office and just learn stuff from him. And he had behind him books, like every doctor in an office would have all his books and all his stuff. Only his name is on all those books. It's not other people writing those books. You know what I'm saying? That's the impressive part. He turned me on to K-Space and gave me stuff to read. I would read it, bring it back, and learned about MRI and just what exactly is going on with that. What is that? It's a gray looking image. Everyone sees the picture, but what is it? It's information. It's data in that. That's very, very specific data in that cloudy image you're looking at. It's soft tissue data. It's the information about all the cells in that soft tissue range that thing can measure. And so when I, learning that information and knowing about that stuff in music development and product development has been great because, like, I can go into a lab and know how to get results from things that people wouldn't probably expect. So flash forward to the Parkinson's thing. When I saw the thing that they read, I read a white paper about their project at UCLA where they had a machine that was a mechanical transducer that would vibrate the back of your neck, and it would shake your whole, neck. So you're shaking the basal ganglia just by, through concussion. And so, the frequencies they were using, they're like, yeah, we shake it about like between 40 and 50 hertz. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, okay, here's, and excuse me the language. I don't know your audience. If this is a sensitive subject, you can just bleep me out, put a little duck.
You're good. Go ahead.
But that was my response. Is like, are you kidding me? You guys, really? You're in like audible frequency ranges like this doing therapeutic stuff, but you're using a huge giant machine with these in a laboratory and it gets results. Well, there's a lot of people with Parkinson's. Is there a line outside? Are you putting hey, free treatments today situation? Or no, you got to sign up and it's a thing. And like, no, only 6 people ever got to do it. And you wrote your paper and you moved on in life and you guys didn't anybody do this. That's crazy to me that you come up with something that could help millions of people right now. And you write a thing about it and you go on with your life and you don't say nothing to nobody about it. And that blows my mind that's a thing in academia, in these medical institutions and big industry. And that's what they don't even know they're doing it. They're really good doctors that are trying to pioneer. They're thinking of global, the world. How can I affect the whole world? They don't give a one person. You see my point? So like, that's the point is like, okay, I'm faced with one person. I'm like, come here. And so I looked at their stuff. I said, okay, I can do way better than this. They're not doing a bunch of things that, because they're using a transducer. There's things I can do with actual waveforms, in space, acoustic waves, that they can't do with a mechanical transducer. And so that made it a lot easier for me to target the specific frequency range of the cell tissue of the basal ganglia. And again, not a medical doctor. I'm not giving anyone medical advice. This is an audio person talking about science. I was able to take my MRI knowledge, I did a whole calculation table. I spent a lot of time taking that information and turning it into what the peak resonant frequencies for harmonic stimulation. What are the peak resonant frequencies of that tissue? Like if you were going to break a wine glass by singing, you can't sing at any range. You have to sing at exactly the resonant frequency of that particular wine glass. You ting it, you go ting, 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 ting. You go, okay, ting, ding, 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 la, at that same pitch, and it'll break. That's the theory there. So like the same thing with your cells, you can tickle them, stimulate them by vibrating at specific frequency ranges, but they only do it for a second. There's a thing called cellular adaptation. Um, Same thing if you heard a really loud sound behind you right now, boom, you would jump, your body would react, you would have endorphins, you would have all these things happen right away. Adrenaline would flood into your muscle. But if that sound went on all day and it just kept going, and if it's happening at a frequency of like every 2 seconds, there's a loud sound behind you, that doesn't just keep happening. You get my point? That reaction, your biological reaction, doesn't just keep happening. So that's the same thing with sound and vibration and stuff like that. And so you can listen, you can have a sound, you can hear something, but that's why music changes its dynamic range of frequency all the time. It's not just people don't just like to sit around and hear a dum just all day unless you're really meditating, and then you can do it and then you want to do it for a reason. But music for entertainment, enjoyment, stimulation, people get it changes in frequency like a lot constantly. And so that's because of cellular adaptation. Your cells fire new every time they have a new thing, and then they stop firing and they wait for something new to happen again. Again, not a medical doctor, not talking about medicine. This is a sound person talking about science. The idea being our standing waves, when you want to stimulate cell tissue with acoustic vibration, you can do that by sweeping through these ranges. You identify this target range. Look, every person is going to have a different level of hydration, different stuff, different size. Your basal ganglia is not the same size as his, and all these things. So like there's ranges, but there's not one frequency that does a thing to a person, to every it just doesn't work that way. There's no unique frequency. A frequency doesn't have a effect on anything at all. It's just a frequency. It's literally an arbitrary measurement made up by people. It doesn't even exist in nature. It's just something we label. It's our label. It's like confusing the menu for the meal, like Alan Watts. So the idea being I hope this is making sense. You guys are laughing at me. It's like, dude, you're on
It
you're on
does. No,
you're
you're
on
doing a great
mute, and
job.
we've just laughed at you. But that's
No,
but
you're making total sense. You're doing great.
okay. But that's you want the detail. So that's the idea, is being that like we could easily stimulate cell tissue by using MRI data and attributing ranges for those frequencies, and then applying stimulation using standing wave, like node anti-node mathematics with diffusion math to say how loud it would need to be. We want to use low frequencies because they'll go right through solid matter. They go through the wall. You hear the bass coming down the road. You don't hear the guy singing. You hear the bass coming down the road. You hear it through the wall of your neighbor. You don't hear the flute through the wall. You hear the bass through the wall. So bass will travel. These are 14-foot waveform that'll just go right through solid things. So it's like why they would use EMF. Well, it also goes through solid matter the same way. It ignores it. Well, kind of the same idea, using low frequencies. Also, once you get past that, past the skin diffusion, past the things that happen when it just bounces around off of solid objects, when you go lower frequencies, those go through objects. So that's our carrier wave. And then we attenuate that, we shake that waveform, literally modulate that waveform with the frequency of that tissue that we're trying to affect. So that ends up being, we're shaking this thing just by the merits of it's going to shake everything. And then in that movement, when we've overcome that first moment, the moment of initial inertia, when we overcome the first moment of inertia, then that makes it to where that harmonic vibration can happen. And so we can shake any tissue. We can shake the surrounding tissue. We can shake the fluids, lymph nodes, any soft tissue, and even bone density and stuff like that seems to be affected. Now, this is all anecdotal. We've done this in the lab. We've done this for literally thousands and thousands of people now at this point, with these just anecdotal results saying, okay, this is universally what the responses from people. This is so we can gather all of that data. We haven't done rigorous clinical trials. We haven't. We're just now embarking on our brain mapping quest because I know a lot about EEG machines. Electroencephalography is kind of a side hobby.
And like I told you, Alex, we have that first case study being done at the Dementia and Alzheimer's Institute that's going to end here in July. And the results have been phenomenal. We'll have a white paper and all that stuff. So we're super excited about that because we were when we had entered into the space of India with our distributors there for Pro Audio. All of a sudden we had met this doctor and he wanted to put us into it wasn't even like our choice to do it. It was just something he was already doing. So he kind of implemented us into his situation, and the results have been phenomenal. They have chairs there in India and have been able to experience the full safety of the cave moment in the chair. So it's been awesome, and that was a great job, Chris, by the way.
Well,
Yeah,
I could add the safety of the cave if I could just tag that on real quick, because you said something. So like this we've been talking about just the sound technology, and that can be used in any suitable or any speaker system or audio system that's adequate. Our chair has some other features to it that are different than just if you were to just put some speakers or do it in your car with Solotones or something. The chair shape we discovered, the fact that you're cutting off all of your peripheral vision in that dome does something neurologically, and we've had long discussions with real neurologists, like people who know, and they have explained it and stuff, and they're like, well, there's these deeply rooted primitive parts of the brain that have these responses, blah blah blah. Quantum. And so, but the idea being like, it's a real thing that they know all about. They could tell you all about this and stuff. And the fact that we have a simple way to actually implement it, this idea that you're in this, like, this sound has been cut off. Like there's 20 dB of natural sound cancellation because of the diffusion and the shape and the sound canceling technology. So you're in there and it's very quiet. You can't see, your samurai in you is going, this is perfect. No one can attack me. I am safe. You know what I mean? I could do anything from here. And it is. It's like that. It triggers something in people, like kids that have like really debilitating conditions, severe autism, self-injury, stuff like that, where they're moving constantly, where there's just stimming, there's just all these issues where they just can't even relax long enough to give them any like speech therapy. They come from
Nonverbal kids that
yeah.
are doing sign language and talking now when they're in the chairs, and they, again, doctors have been working with some of these kids for 5-6 months, and they were just not, they have the weighted blankets and the clowns and the dogs and the everything. Nothing was working, and our chair, because of what Chris is talking about, that safety of the cave, has just been doing phenomenal things in these centers with the neurodivergent individuals. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
I have a question on the chair. I want to slowly break it down because I'm getting super excited. So, at least from like the cave and the egg shape, right? Okay, so obviously receptors, upper portion, proximal, distal, so cutting off that light makes sense. That's going to lower the amygdala firing, probably modulate the prefrontal cortex a little bit. So you get a little dump dopamine, serotonin, so that metabolism's cool. That should then pull down glutamate, push up GABA, so that makes sense. Beyond the neurochemistry of that, do you think it's also just the geometry of the shape? Because to me, I think obviously the neurochemistry makes sense, but is that happening more because of the shape and the cutting off of light? Or is it because of the actual geometry of the actual egg shape?
So I see where you're leading. You want me to say that there's something about sacred geometry that puts you like if you were in a special space. And I can expound on exactly what you're talking about, because the shape of that it looks like an egg shape, but there's a reason. It's the golden ratio. So I drew the golden ratio, on my computer in my Fusion, and I extruded a shape and I mirrored it, and that's the shape. That's the shape you get, is an egg. So it's because there's no parallel surfaces. So for audio, I wanted the whole reason of the golden ratio as a surface, on a practical level, was to create complete diffusion all the way down. Every sound wave that hits that, any sound that hits that shape, unless it goes through it, if it bounces off of it, it should cancel the next frequency down. It should cancel out. They should all cancel each other, all like little dominoes, all down that whole spiral. And that's the idea of why you would use that. And so, yeah, when you get in there, you're in a negatively canceled sound space. And so the things that you're used to, the environment around you, your ears are, the sound coming into your neurology. It's the brain in a vat experiment. You're a brain, you're in a dark room, you only have telephones, they're telling you what's going on. They're telling you everything's cool, man. Like, you are good. It is nice out here. There is no predators. There's no sound. It is quiet and still, and you start to, that has a direct effect on your body. Just the environmental room sound and stuff like that, and you're just the noises. You're still gonna be on alert all the time for everything around you. Just because there's sound, at all, and any, like, the background sound level is like 70 decibels usually for people, and that's a lot. That's like constant noise all day long, producing cognitive friction, causing you to be on alert for things that you don't need to be on alert for at all. And then nothing happens. And so, your neurology has to adapt to these very infrequent things. So only once in a while does a dog bark. So now I'm on alert for 6 hours waiting for a dog to bark. Why? Because I have a dog and something might happen. No, you're paranoid. It's just sound. But it's affecting people all day long in ways that they aren't conscious of. These are all just things that go on in your life. You're not aware of it at all. Go to the beach sometime and sit there and listen to the ocean instead. How do you feel? When you change the environment, go play golf, Josh, and you're out there on the thing, and it's just birds and that. How do you feel? Different, right? The environment. So when you get in the chair and it cancels all the sound out, and your mind is free to just now reset to where it wants to be and not have to be affected by all this stuff all the time. And especially nowadays with people that put themselves in the line of fire by living in Los Angeles. And that's super to live in Los Angeles. It's a horrible thing to do to your body and your mind. Sorry.
So this is why the chair is the number one delivery system for sound. Chris and I have been in, I mean, I can't tell you, we've been in the Dolby Atmos rooms created by some of the top engineers in the space. The chair is a better experience unless you're sitting right in the sweet spot of that studio with that $300,000 16 speaker system. The chair is a better experience. Like you said, it cuts everything off. You're like, it's mind blowing. And it's now it's working with a lot of people that we weren't expecting. So, Chris and I both love music, and we would sit there sometimes and just listen to live concerts and hang out for the day. Like it was made for that. And so this is really cool.
Applause. Live concerts in the chair when you have really, really high fidelity and you get crowd cheering all around you. My God, your body lights up. You're like, this is really like, this is like 50 to maybe 70% of what this is like going to a show, and I don't even have to funnel to get out of here. I can just watch the show. It's like your body gets almost that same kind of joy from it. Your body says there's a drummer playing there and stuff, and your mind says no, that's a TV. I'm just listening to speakers. But your body says no, there's a drummer there. I can hear it. I know. So you do get those physical cues like you were talking about, all those different endorphins and things and
that cell impulse. I was just gonna say that cell impulse is all that matters. It doesn't matter if it's created in our minds or externally. It's firing regardless. So I think that's extremely interesting to point out about the chair. Mm-hmm. If we kind of look a little bit deeper, right? Would you mind going more into the actual standing wave, how it's sweeping, how it's working with the oscillators in the chair? So we're really kind of breaking down the mechanics of what's going on for people. Just one more time, because certain people may have been lost along the way. Just want to make sure everyone understands. I said the word beautiful before we started recording, because this is that cell signal communication that is just so inherent to our biology. And then also about the coherence, because I would assume the coherence effect at a cell level would be a little bit longer lasting. It's not like, in the chair you get a 5-minute effect, but there should be like obviously with daily therapies, however you're going to use it, there should be more of an entrainment long-term effect, correct?
Yeah, you hit on a couple key points there. Frequency follow response is something that I think is maybe the most important phenomenon that can be measured. Phenomena? phenomena that can be measured.
Phenomeno.
Not down phenomenos. So words again, right? So
Yep.
the idea is that like that's something that's been known for a very long time, and we can all reproduce it very easily in a lab anytime we want to. And so you can take an electroencephalography and you can put it on a person. You can measure them, and you can see their brain waves change through stimuli, through whatever frequency. If they're exposed to a frequency within the range of what frequencies your brain will produce, your neocortex, your new brain on the outside of your old brain, will sit there and start firing these things, and it'll do it at a frequency range of these super low frequencies. Oddly, they're below human hearing. You can't hear 6 hertz, but your brain produces 6 hertz, and that's some of your optimum states when you're trying to go to sleep and stuff. When you need that, a lot of times when you have trouble going to sleep and all these things, it's because your brain is still firing at like 25 hertz, just clicking away. If anybody knows what that feels like. So these things are like, you can put on a 6 hertz just tone. You can just put on, this is like Dr. Monroe and those guys used to do. Like they have these, Tom Campbell has these things where he's just like, man, 4 hertz for everybody. Just write a prescription. Just do it. I'm gonna prescribe 4 hertz, and that's what you're gonna change your life, buddy. And that's true because of the frequency follow response, that your brain waves will start putting out 4 hertz, and it's super beneficial to be able to do that. And my theory, what I think, and this is something that I can't find proof that isn't true, and so I'm going to continue to investigate. I'm not going to say it's true, but what I might believe is that the entire body is entrainable. Every cell and everything, we're just looking at brain waves, and we've noticed it happens there. But I would gather that that same mechanism would happen throughout the body in every system, in your endocrine system, in your lymph nodes. That those things would all start to behave in some way sympathetically with some other external stimuli. And it might not be a tone, it might be whatever they like to have, but I believe that they are. And so through stimulation, through vibration, I feel that that's why we're getting those results. So those are the things that we're trying to measure. I want to measure that, prove that out, and let other people be able to reproduce that and saying like, look, this goes farther. This goes beyond just the frequency follow response. This is a full cellular follow response, I don't know if that's a word. I'm not taking claim for it. If that's not a term, then we just made it up right here, and now your podcast is famous. Good for you.
Hey, I like it.
Kidding.
Like I said about words, though, they
It's
just,
about words.
for the things. Yeah, I mean, like a lot of things, though, that I think we're utilizing or trying to explain, we just don't have the vocabulary for it. So I'm more than fine. Make up all the words you want. As long as you can explain it so we understand what it is, go crazy.
Yeah, and measure it and get the results. So explaining things is great, but I feel like right now this is just one of the things. And on your podcast, on these, when people who watch these things, just try to divide it up, between things that make sense. Put a camp over here of things that make sense to you, and then over here you have things that you can actually measure. And don't mix those two things. Have both of those camps, let them play, do their things, investigate, but don't mix them up. That's things that you believe over here, and then things that you can measure over here. And so if it makes sense to you, that's good. Maybe you can measure it and it'll make sense to other people, but just explaining it to them in a way where it makes sense and getting them to agree is not the same as measuring something and getting them to measure it and agree. You know what I mean? So I want to make that distinction anytime I can between measurement and what we're talking about. There's things that we can see happening that we can do over and over and over that we still haven't measured. We still have work to do, and so that's the idea, is that's the exciting part, and that anybody that wants to participate, we're virtually open source because we're a small company, and we're just sort of telling everybody here on a podcast, yes, I take multiple standing waves. I'm happy to show you my calculations, and this is how we stimulate tissue using NMR data, and we've patented it. Yes, we do. We have a patent on this, and so you're free to read that. Anyone can go now and start doing this stuff, and we provide software for them to do it, and we're happy to distribute that software a lot of times for free to people that want to do it for reasons that would help, and so anyway, you get it.
I do know that was perfect. That really was. I think the cool thing that people will really be getting from this is that it's so universally applicable.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the person, problem, thing is. You're driving that cell signal. You've already accounted for tissue density. You've done all that legwork. How long did that take? Because accounting for tissue density and then finding the frequency, and like you said with that sweep, right? Because you're trying to account for like whatever, a hepatomegaly, so someone's liver is bigger than everyone else's. Like you've already accounted for all of that.
Yeah.
How long did that take? I can imagine that'd be crazy.
It was like 2 years of just math, and coding. So, but beyond that, we drew on, 20 years of stuff I've been thinking about anyway. And we've done this before in sound. Like you realize it's not that different. Um, to make Steely Dan really good for an old head is almost the same as getting like a kid to like, who's autistic to like slow down and like pay attention and want to do some speech therapy. Like those are very similar things to do. You're doing the same thing to both of these people, and you're affecting their body with sound in a way that's beneficial that causes these states. That's all. And so when we got that, but that's not an obvious thing. That's not something that anyone would just sort of make that conclusion and they go, wow, who thought if I play Tommy Dorsey for that lady, for Edith, and she's like 92 years old, all of a sudden she couldn't remember her kids yesterday, but now she's telling me about 1923, about all the stuff they did and details and stuff like that because she heard Tommy Dorsey and it just made her click. Oh yeah, I remember the time of blah, 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 blah. They do that all the time. They're doing that in our chair in the studies in India right now. They're doing these like, and in Florida and in Michigan probably, and soon in California. We're doing this all over the place in Arizona. The idea being that this is easy, like that's something we've known about for a very long time, that sound does that to people, but they don't click with. It's like making this little leap to be like, well, if it works good for this, maybe it would work good for that over there. What about cows? Do cows really, with less colic, produce better milk and have better lives, with these sound frequencies and stuff?
I mean,
Horses,
you should see, Alex, what we're doing with horses right now.
yeah,
I'm testing horses.
Those
Because
designs look awesome.
yeah, I mean, we have I got a couple buddies with ranches and stuff, so we're doing vibroacoustic inside the trailer for these horses that have high stress. They're bored, they're pawing, they're super alert. The results, I mean, I never thought a big horse, thoroughbred horse, was going to actually like the ears go down, its neck rate lowers down from being. I mean, it's been phenomenal what's going on with this invention that Chris has come up with. So
That is, and then my mind goes to, okay, you layer in a little pentosan polysulfate before the ride, see a little more chondrocyte metabolism, a little more release of like superoxide dismutase. Then the sound therapy is potentiating whatever the drug or molecule is coming in and doing. Because in that parasympathetic, less sympathetic overtone state, that's when healing and growth factors and cytokines get released. So it just sounds like a pairing that's made in heaven. That's for everything.
Yeah.
That's for the autistic community with SS31. That's for the dementia and Parkinson's community with like more like neuromelanin type molecules and peptides, because then the shaking vibration can potentiate that process. Like this chair, I'm not trying to oversell it. I'm just excited about it, but it could be that additional therapy that would make anything else just work better.
yeah. Look at what they've done with like, there's a lot of things like that. Just water, blood flow. Imagine circulation. So they do things just to increase circulation, and all of a sudden it cures a dozen different. It fixes all kinds of things, right?
Right?
It's a systemic solution to like you don't need to pinpoint. It's not trying to put a band-aid on a specific thing deterministically. This is a systemic solution that is part of nature. We're leveraging what there's evolutionary biology here at play too. The cells that did this survived and made more cells, and the cells that didn't, they didn't need to and they went away. You haven't been maybe affected by electromagnetic waves. Those are relatively new. Only in the last few hundred years have we even been aware of them and messed with them and all these things. So it's very strange that a cell would need to have any stimulation or any effects or know anything about or need to interact with an electromagnetic frequency. And so when there's one little ion that is affected by a magnetic pulse or something, that doesn't necessarily mean that that cell is doing its native function, the thing that it was evolved over millions of years to do, because it hadn't needed to do that. When has it done that ever? Show me, when has it ever needed to do that? It doesn't do that. But you can say, okay, mathematically, if we pulse in a magnetic field at, let's just say 4 hertz for Tom's sake, um, then your cells produce these frequency follow responses at 4 hertz and stuff, and they just don't. They don't in that way. They do certain other things. They do have a certain frequency follow response, but it's not the calcium ion chains firing, causing the cell functionality to produce normal cell functioning. It's just a something else that you can measure, and I've never been able to really get like, okay, so if you're going to do that, why wouldn't you use acoustic stimulation? Why would you use electromagnetic? What is the benefit to electromagnetic pulse versus sound? Like, I still haven't gotten the idea that you would need, first of all, those machines, you need a license to use the good ones. So there's only a few people doing that. All of the rest of them are people doing their best to try to make sense of this stuff and use it therapeutically. And they also can't measure, they don't have all of the biometrics to measure everything. They're not sitting there doing an MRI on the person 2 minutes after it and stuff like that. Only the people with the licenses are doing that with the big machines. But those things, I mean, you've got an electrolytic capacitor, like right on your skull right there, right? And they're just going to pop it off. They're just going to do that, right? In order to what? What are they trying to do? Well, they're trying to get your neocortex to fire at that frequency. Okay, duh, you could do that. I could I could literally sing to you right now the right way, or a monk's good. Not me, I'm not a singer, but like if we were a couple monks that know how to do that, our tones together, our voices together, we can drone a sound that has those frequencies in it that will do that to your brain. So it just seems to me like, yeah, you might be causing a little bit of an effect with this massive science project you've got here, but there's other way simpler, way easier ways to do this stuff to cause brain cohesion and stuff like that. First of all, go surfing and then measure your brain map. Done. Right? Just teach people how to surf. You don't need a giant machine, but there's not as much money in that, right? Oh, look at guys who teach people how to surf. Well, they're living on the beach and they're surfers. Well, I'm a doctor, man. I'm not going to go surfing, and I'm definitely not going to tell people to go surfing. But what if I measure the brains though, and then better to go surfing? What are you going to say to that? How are you going to say, well, it's not my purview. It's not within Harvard's purview to teach surfing classes for therapeutic benefits. Maybe it should be, is my point. Like, maybe you guys are missing the point. Maybe you need to start like actually getting out of your own kind of and actually like look at what's going on with people, with one person, instead of looking at the world, the global world, because you've spent trillions of dollars now on medical research, but heart disease goes up. All these things go up. All these conditions just keep on going up. I don't see a chart statistically. There's no stochastic way to justify medical research anymore. Especially now with the Genesis project. And I don't know how you feel about Genesis, but they've just cut off all the funding for anything good in the world. So this is whatever we learned up till now. That's it. We're not learning anymore as a species at this point. Good luck.
See, and that's where though I think it's so cool, because people like me, people like you, like there's so many people like us that we're kind of doing our own research. We're already pushing. If it's not going to happen at the highest level, like we're kind of making it happen. And I'm very much of the camp of, why not do it all, right? So you do the surfing and you do this acoustic therapy, and like it's layering things on top of each other. I completely understand and agree with what you're saying. I think that the common sense factor has definitely been lost for sure, but I like the fact there's people like us and so many others out there that are like, you know what, you do your thing, I'm going to figure out on my own, I'll pay for the research, I'll do whatever, right? But if we know it's working in the meantime, why wait? Because we know the alternative. You'll get dementia when you're 80, or you'll break your hip when you're 65, and you have a terrible last 10 years of life.
It's their attention.
I'd rather have a better quality of life.
Yeah, it's just
right?
Their attention is focused on these things, not because of the reasons that we would want them to be focused on it. And if they were focused on the things that we want, we're thinking about this stuff because we're not. I'm not trying to write a grant. First of all, I'm not trying to get a grant. To pay for this so that I can keep doing it, because I'm not I can just say whatever I want. I can literally say anything I want right now, just so you guys know. Like, I have no horse in any race. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I don't need to have a career. I'm not trying to climb a ladder. All I want to know is is this thing I'm thinking about true or not? And how quickly can I measure that, improve it, and build on this idea and keep creating these things? I'm creating things that are getting results, that are real things. I'm putting out products into the world. I'm not just like still trying to raise funds and go around telling people my ideas or write some paper and print it and try to get a grant for it. No, I made something. I made something and people are using it. Do that. You know what I mean? More. Do that more, people. I don't know.
I love it, man. So backtracking a little bit, one question I don't think we covered that I was interested in is with the technology, like again, because there's a lot of different whatever. Go to YouTube and type in the whatever binaural beats or like all those
Yeah.
things. That difference in compression and non-compression. I don't think we covered that. I think that's something that really separates you guys.
Yeah, Josh is shaking his head, and I know he wants to answer it because he's been practicing this answer over and over. If you want me to
Let's
answer it, I
hear it.
will. I like the way Josh
I
answers
mean, since you're here and this could be your last
it. Oh,
podcast,
that's
let's
true.
have you go with it.
You might as well milk it, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
compression. So like they did studies, when this all started 20 years ago or whatever, when iTunes was taking over, they did a lot of medical studies on the cognitive friction aspects of listening to music, the cognitive functions of MP3 compression, what happens to your brain when you listen to uncompressed music versus compressed music at all different compression levels. And they wrote a lot of medical stuff. Well, again, Steve Jobs, bless his heart, he's like, look, man, I just want to be able to pick from the songs that I want to pick from. And I don't care about all. Look, there's no money in it. First of all, look at all the people that have tried to sell uncompressed music. All failed. Tidal failed. All these people failed when they tried to do that. Just the business model wasn't there 20 years ago to stream this stuff. Well, they fixed that 10 years ago, but they said, why would we want to make less money? And they just kept using these really horrible methods to distribute media. This is all just media distribution. You're talking about like we don't get our media on tapes anymore. I mean, I do. I still buy fucking cassette tapes and listen to those, but you don't. And so people,
A cassette? What?
yeah, exactly. So the idea is like, no, you get everything through these bit streams that come in from outside where the data is stored somewhere else. Why aren't you storing the data locally and just watching your media all the time? That doesn't make any sense at all unless you're an accountant. And so the idea is that like that's been the state of the art for all this time. That's literally just what we're used to. People have grown up now and never actually ever heard uncompressed sound at all. There's people, adults, that have never actually heard what music sounds like. They think that it's in their car and it's loud, so that's what the song sounds like. And so since a lot of modern music is just very sparsely produced, they have a bass, they have a mid, and they have a high, and they don't have anything between those frequencies. Why? Well, because when you compress it, you won't be able to hear shit. You have to be able to hear it. So if you want that thing to sound like a banger, you got to trim it all out and build it for the algorithm so that when you can squash the out of it, and it's this little tiny bit of data at the end of a massive recording session, you're going to have a 1.2 megabyte file to have fun with. Yeah, you're nothing. There's nothing. If that's entertainment, that's fine. But if you're trying to do that for any therapeutic benefit, and you're recording a sound bath, or you're listening to binaural beats, or you're doing any type of thing like that, why would you go to a compressed source? The Hindus say pay attention to your source. They're not wrong. The idea is that is the thing that makes it worthwhile or not. Is the quality of what you're actually experiencing with that media, not just checking a box saying, well, I heard that frequency, so therefore this should happen to me and I should be calm right now. But I'm not calm, but I'm going to think I'm calm, so I'm going to have a placebo calm and I'm going to go back to work where I hate my boss. Those types of things with people, it's just, if they pay attention,
And
if they were just
I
to
was
pay
going to say,
attention to that one thing, then that would change all of they would make all the time they spend on all that stuff just actually 10 times more beneficial. Does that make sense?
It does, for sure. Yeah, it's really looking at the quality over the strength, the frequency over the strength. It's not just that sheer power. Like what atmospheric wise, like a kilopascal versus like us talking like a millipascal. Like if it was just about like sheer power of pressure, like it just can't be that at the end of the day.
Well, resolution. Yeah. Reproduction. So your brain, you're wired, your ears are wired for real things, not for recordings. Those have only been around for a couple hundred years. You don't know about that. Your mind, your cells don't know about that. They think about fire, water, loud. They think about things that for your survival. So, and they have to think about it for a few thousand years before it really makes a difference. So the idea is like you're not wired for that, for compression. And so you're wired for reality. So when you want to reproduce, when you want to get an effect, you have to reproduce reality. That's what the recording is for. That's the process of recording. You're trying to reproduce something that's real. So to the extent that you reproduce that thing that as real, the better you can reproduce it, you're going to have the effect of that thing. To the extent that you just make a symbol of it, well, you're just going to be you're semantics. Then you're just sort of like, okay, I see it, I heard it, I heard a song today. I can check that box. I heard a song. Yes, I did. But I didn't hear the guy in the studio making his song. I didn't hear the emotional content that came through when he was singing. I can't hear any of those micro cues in his voice, all those little tiny indicators of things that trigger my neurology to actually feel a certain way. I don't get any of that. I just hear the low resolution reproduction of this thing, a semantic reproduction.
And that brings me to, when Chris had first made this, we tried to give free headaches away and free menstrual cramp. I mean, we're getting tremendous results with headaches and menstrual cramps and these, muscle cramps and things like that. So we wanted to give it away on YouTube for free. And when Chris said, hey, go in the chair and test it, I just put it up. I went into the chair straight from Solotones, which was phenomenal. I went onto the YouTube and I played the, headache relief, and I was like, "What? Hey, Chris, there's something wrong here." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Come out here." He was in the lab. I'm like, "Come out here, check this out." He's like, comes out, and I'm sitting in the chair, man, it's not working. He's like, "What do you mean?" It works. We have 240 people on there as of yesterday, getting headache relief. I'm like, "Dude, it's not working." So he sat in the chair, and that's when we realized, and he was like, "Oh, that's right. I forgot. The compression is not going to work on a cellular level like that. It's, cognitively, can you meditate? Can you drop in? Can you, all that kind of stuff? Absolutely. But for anything to work on a cellular level like Solotones, it has to be procedurally generated to play on your device. You know what I mean? So Chris
let's break those down now, right? Because we have the Solotones, and then we have the actual chair. And then different types. And again, I got excited initially. I was just going to buy one because I was so excited by it, and everything made sense on paper. And then I realized you said, I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's more than one chair. So let's talk about what people like further run in myself. You have the online version, right? And then you have the actual chairs. Go into what's offered, differences in the chairs, all that kind of cool stuff.
Josh.
Okay, I was hoping you were going to jump in.
I will.
So we do. Yeah, I'll do. We can both do it. We'll kind of tap in. I'll talk about the chairs, and you can talk about Solotones and why you created it. Again, we originally created this to, we wanted the best audio chair in the world. That was our goal. Again, as we started to affect human beings, I donated a chair to Little Steps, Florida. Damon John and I donated a chair that we had made for his daughter. We're going to come out here eventually with our children, our small version. We call it the mini dome. But at this time, it was just something that I had made for his daughter. And when she grew out of it, he called me and said, hey, let's donate this chair. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be great. So he's like, I'll hold on to it. You let me know where we're going to donate it. So anyway, like 2 weeks later, I get a random online order from a gentleman named Justin who was buying a chair for his autistic son. And I reached out as the founder wanting to know information like why did you choose the chair? Like this was the first time, right? So I asked him basically why are you buying the chair? What's going on? And that's when he explained that his wife owns Little Steps, Florida, and that's how I discovered that we could donate a chair there. Anyway, I had forgotten about the chair that we donated, And about 2 months later, I woke up to an email saying that the Dr. Jamie Pasalia, who wants to talk to one of the founders of the company. So I got on the phone with her, and she basically told me in that phone call that she had been dealing with a child for 5 months that was nonverbal, self-injuring. They haven't been able to regulate the child out. And our chair just worked in like less than 5 minutes on this child. And she's like, I don't need to be involved financially in the company, but I wanted to speak to you because I want to be able to talk about this. She's like, as you know, I started out as a customer. I bought this for my son, and now all my children are using it. She's like, now what I've seen in the center is profound. She's like, I have all the physicians and clinicians, they're all fighting for space. She's had to create like a check sheet for people to like actually block times to use the chair. She's now come on as my chief health officer, and is now coming, literally ready to come on with us full time to launch into the pediatric space and into the wellness space. Come December 11th, we're launching into the wellness space for the first time. Again, we were pro audio. We were at NAMM. We were involved with, mastering engineers in some of the top music studios in Los Angeles. So this is a big transition for the company, and has changed Chris and mine. I mean, it's changed our life. We're both fathers, so this is a big deal when it affects kids and people of all sorts. So.
Yeah, I've got 4 kids myself, and automatically I'm thinking, okay, you mentioned having a pediatric chair, smaller, I'm assuming because the auditory and the cortex changes in children. Say I buy just a chair for myself, so I don't have the kids one yet. Can I put my kids in there? Can I put my dogs in there given the tissue density changes, or what's that look like?
Yeah, so what I recommend is the small chair, again, is not for sale yet. We still have to get some certifications and things like that to be able to sell this product, but most of the people get the classic chair. We have a classic and a deluxe. The deluxe was designed for like my bigger individuals, my NFL players, the people who don't have the skinny butt that I have, can be comfortable in the deluxe chair. Height-wise, I've had Julius Irving in the classic chair, who's 7'2", I believe. So the height, you kind of just scoot your butt down a little bit, per se. But yeah, the classic chair and the deluxe chair are the 2 chairs that we offer now. And not everyone at that time, or at this time, we're going to have eventually, it's going to be 510K clearance, and we're trying to get insurance to cover this, and it's, we're going down that path. But for now, not everyone was able to afford, a $6,000 audio chair. Even though this chair, you could use it for music and movies and games and whatever, it's still an expense, right? So that's when Chris wanted to develop Solotones, and I'll let him speak on Solotones and how that works and how you don't necessarily need a chair, although it's the best delivery system for it. You're on mute this time.
Sorry, I was getting an echo. I was trying to keep it. We started off that conversation a little bit about the differentiation between the software and the chair form factor. And so there are things in the form factor of the chair that we went over, like the safety of the cave and the way that you can apply things that aren't our software. You can apply music therapy and you can do a lot of things with, even therapeutically, and also all the entertainment things, games and movies and music. Hey, music. The idea is that like the software itself is sort of a precision application that just requires an audio system to run, and it requires an audio system that can produce, downwards of like 26 hertz would be good. Like a home theater system would work good. A car system with a subwoofer, you can sit in your car and put it on. It's pretty intense in a modern car. And earbuds, and you go, well, earbuds aren't like hitting your muscles. How does that work, Chris? What's the deal with the earbuds working, and why is that a thing? Don't you need speakers to cause these acoustic waves to go through your body? What about all the you said? That doesn't make any sense to me. And so to tie that together, neurologically, there is this wild sort of phenomenon. That's a phenomenon with the end that happens whereby your brain in a vat, you're hearing the television signals, the telephone signals from outside telling you what's going on. It tells you that there's a vibration that should be affecting certain cells. That this is your neurology is made aware that there is something going on that should affect a specific, like your basal ganglia or your tissue and your muscles or lymph nodes. It's a good one for lymphatic drainage and circulation and stuff. Your brain actually will tell it to do the thing that it would do if it were stimulated directly by the blue light, by the flashing like they do for the rats. All of that, it'll do it. Your brain will tell it to do it, and it'll do it. And there's a delay. We've just noticed after doing this with thousands and thousands of people, like with Josh's wife. I'll let him speak on her, but she has cramps really bad, and once a month she gets these terrible cramps. And she's tried tons and tons of things for this, and this is a very common thing for people. So so the chair works in 5 minutes. She actually calms right down. It's like not as bad. It's like still there, but it's not nearly. It's not. She could like stand up.
The car works too. The car works in about 5 to 10 minutes as well. But yeah,
but then,
for 4 days out of the month, Alex, she is in bed crying like it's horrific. I mean, it's. Yeah. And like Chris said, with the chair, she gets in the chair, and in 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, she can function throughout the day, and maybe do it one more time at night. Like, it's wild what it's because before that, she would have to take, she'd have to take 5 to 10 Tylenol, like the powder, just like Jeez. Stuff you don't want to take. You know what I mean? So. And again, this has been like a huge thing for headaches too, man. I just can't, like, I have people with like almost cluster headaches, severe headaches, almost like throwing up type headaches that have now, they're not taking medication. They're actually using sound to give them relief. Like, that's unbelievable to me. So.
And it's also very exciting.
What does the app cost?
The app costs $14.99 per month. It's we have a yearly special, $109. If anybody here can't afford it, please reach out to me personally. My number is at the bottom of my website. I will give you complete access. I would also love to offer your audience a 30-day free trial for every single person. I will make a code. Yeah, I'll make a code after this. We'll do a TPC 30. And that'll give every single person on their 30-day trial. Check it out, you guys. It's a subwoofer-based system, as you've heard, and the let's just say volume equals intensity. So whether you're in your car or my chair or your earbuds, the volume does equal intensity, and it's been a game changer. In my life, I use it. My wife uses it. It's been phenomenal.
So I talked beforehand about buying a chair, and now that I know the difference, I'm only 5'8". I'm 250, so I'm pretty wide, but I'm not that tall. So would the Classic be good for someone my height?
I'll make a special cushion for you so that your ears are in the sweet spot, and just tell me exactly how tall you are, and I'll measure you.
Please, I would love that.
Happy to.
So what does shipping look like, right? So they buy the chair. Where's it being shipped from generally?
So
how long does that happen?
Shipping is so here we're right now we were 4 to 6 weeks out on manufacturing. We're now getting that to about 2 weeks. It's like 7 to 10 days, but I like to under promise and over deliver kind of thing. So I'm saying right now it's about 2 weeks. Shipping could vary. It could vary. It goes anywhere from about $700 to about $350. So what Chris and I did, because we just made it an average, right? We put it at, I think, $358 for a Classic and $400 and something for a Deluxe. I'm paying a lot more in shipping, but I didn't want that to detour people. So we just kind of put an average there for shipping. But yeah, we get the chairs out in about 2 weeks. They come white glove delivery. So the crate is taken away. The people put it in your house. They plug it in. Yeah, it's basically a plug and play. The new Generation 2 chair comes with a tablet. So whether it's a public-facing chair at your center or at your house, it's literally you turn it on. Our app is actually right there. You can easily access Solotone's app. And it's super easy to use. It's sound. So whether you're on a phone call, listening to music, or playing a game, it's going to be one of the best experiences you've ever had.
I have a lot of people that own the wellness clinics where they do stem cell, exosome, U-cell, SMS therapies, all that kind of stuff. And I'd assume pre and post treatment would be kind of optimal timing, right? Because if you get that bone-based vibration, you stop that CXCR4 STF1 cascade, push more endogenous stem cells into circulation, keep them there, and then they should attach and mobilize and move a little bit better. So especially for those kinds of places, if anyone's also listening, I think those kind of wellness, whatever they call them, like the wellness clinics and spas.
Yeah,
Really
look, Dr. Sean Drake, I have multiple doctors now, peak performance doctors for muscle recovery. That's exactly what they do. They use it as a stack, right? So they use it before and then they use it after. But in between there, there's a cold plunge. There's all kinds of different stuff that they're doing. So yeah, that's a great point. But yes, absolutely, before and after and during is a great thing.
I have a lot of clients and friends and people in my group and everything that do own different clinics and stuff like that. And I think of everything out there, this is probably the most universal. So it should be easily, and honestly, you're paying $6 or $10 grand for a chair for like a spa or clinic. Like you get that back in what, a week, 2 weeks, like that. That's kind of nothing for those kind of
first
places.
month.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, guy, I love this episode. What else did I miss? Anything on the mechanical aspect, on the business aspect? Is there anything else you guys want to say? Because I really just appreciate your time. I don't want to take up your whole day, but this was really fun. So any last things we got to mention?
No, other than thank you for your time. Thank you for recognizing what it is that we are doing. I'm on a heavy mission to get this to the world. So things like this are very important to myself, my family, Chris, his family. And this has been a big deal for us. So I really appreciate you taking the time and your audience taking the time to listen.
And if anybody wants to reach out to us and correspond, if you're doing work in this space and you'd like to know more, go ahead and reach out to us. We're very forthcoming with our work and our research, and we're happy to share. We have limited bandwidth, so I'm personally not interested in like lots of collaborations or anything like that. I don't work well with others or a team or anything. But if somebody is trying to get their thing going and wants to know anything that we can do on a practical level to help other humans do good things in the world, we're down for that. Just if you know.
I don't know about that, Chris. I feel like I could hang out with you for like 12 hours a day and still have fun, have things to talk about. I think you work pretty well together.
Chris, let me tell you, Chris is the best. He's like my father. My father's kind of an introvert, but when you know him, oh my God, everybody's like loves Chris and my dad. But yeah, this has been great. I really appreciate you, Chris, for getting on here. I know it's hard for me to get you on many podcasts. But I really appreciate it. You did an amazing job. And again, thank you, Alex. I really appreciate you, brother.
Definitely, guys. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Everyone listening, there'll be links for absolutely everything down in the description box below. Emails, websites, the 30-day free trial, everything. And then, reach out to them for any questions. Reach out to me for anything. And Solodome.com. It's going to be everywhere. And you guys absolutely deserve it. I just feel you're good people, great product, and it's cool to be a part of that. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. Thank you again. Hey, guess what? Chris and I are going to come hang out with you one day. So you just remember that.
Hey,
Honored.
I got 4 kids and 4 dogs, so we'll keep you busy.
love
And
it.
they're all under the age of 7, so.
Or maybe you
love
should
it.
come hang out
Caffeine.
with us then.
We will. I definitely would love that. That'd be awesome, guys.
Hey, Alex, thank you again, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Of course.